Good to be sitting in the chair this morning here on Birds 365 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Jumping in for Jody Mack. Jeff Kerr sitting in for Johnny Mack, doing a great job all camp. And that role will continue for JK. Glad to be here on a Wednesday night. Preseason football, of course, tomorrow. Good dialogue in the last half hour, Jeff, about the game tomorrow night. Two quick programming alerts or reminders for everybody watching on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Don't forget, starting with the opening game on the 12th of September, thrilled to say that the live post-game show with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, Devin Caney, John McMullen, and Lane Johnson will be live right here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel immediately following the end of the football game. We'll have reaction from the stadium, reaction from the press conference, and all kinds of good stuff on the new live post-game show, Jeff Kerr. Hold on to your seat in some way, shape, or form. You may be part of that show. We don't know yet, but it's building, it's evolving, and we'll have our first test run offline tomorrow night, but looking forward to that on the 12th of September.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, JK, it's going to be hard to keep up with that cast of characters. I'll say that. I mean, you got Gunn, you got Mark. We know what McMullen brings. Lane Johnson's a riot every time I've interviewed him. And Devin's Devin. So that's going to be a fun show. I'll definitely be tuning in.
Jeff, your work when you're not sitting in the chair for CBS Sports, I love the work that you do for CBS Sports. Your reads are always very defined. They're 4 or 5 minute reads. They get to the crux of your point, which I enjoy. I thought it would be fun to spend the last segment here on what I think may be your most recent Philadelphia Eagle article. And if you talked about it at length, I apologize for the repetition. I'm sure we'll have a different spin in our dialogue. Eagles bold predictions. You made three big bold predictions. Set the table for us, and then we'll go through those predictions one at a time.
So the first one I did, and I mentioned this to Jody Mack yesterday. We didn't go about today, but Devonta Smith is going to have a 1,000-yard season for this team this year. I truly believe that. I'll go a little bit deeper into that. The second one I had was Jalen Hurts is going to get 30 combined touchdowns this year. So, yes, Eagles fans, they're not getting Deshaun Watson. Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback. So that was one of my – and I said this could completely blow up in my face if anything happens in the next month or so. So I went with that one, and the third one was the Eagles defense was going to lead the NFL in sacks this year. And this one I don't think is as bold, and, Krause, you can, lead me into that, but – I mean, they were third in the league last year, and they were sixth in pressures, and the defensive line is actually better. So I don't know if I would actually say that one is bold per se, but it's a good one.
Well, if you listen, Jeff, to any of the John McMullen Football 24/7 camp recaps, if you listen to the first 11 of them that we've done to date, and we'll have another one tonight on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, every night that conversation always finds its way back to the defense, which we get and we understand. Normally the defense is ahead of the curve, but the name Josh Sweat comes up. And that, I think, is probably one of your key components in your thought that this team could lead the league in sacks. And, of course, I love the addition of Ryan Kerrigan. I love that signing. He was a player that I enjoyed watching, even though he played for the Washington football team. And I'm glad he is here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I got to rank the top edge rushers heading into free agency by CBS. And I had a lot of people say to me, Ryan Kerrigan's not in your top 10. I said, that's how loaded the class was this year. But I had him in guys that are going to be under the radar signings that are going to help a football team. So when the Eagles got him, I'm like, oh, man, what an upgrade over Vinny Curry. And I liked them when they brought back Curry last year. But these are two completely different players. You can actually keep 5 edge rushers on the field, if you have Ryan Kerrigan. I mean, whoever that fifth guy would be, where that would be Jannard Avery, who's converted to linebacker now, or, whoever they decide to go with there. If Davion Taylor was healthy, you could kind of use him in that Anthony Barr role. But overall, like the Josh Sweat resurgence, I mean, I think we all knew it was coming, the breakout season. It came last year, but now it seems like he's ready to take his game to a new level. He says the knees are healthy. And him and Derek Barnett rotating can be very, very scary because Derek Barnett, I think, is a really good third down pass rusher. He does get to the quarterback. Josh Sweat is better than him at this point, but that is not a knock on Derek Barnett at all. That is a luxury to have. And quite honestly, Krause, I think I would bring both of them back. I'd sign Sweat, I'd sign Barnett, and I keep Graham for as long as he can play. And you have a future there at the edge rusher position with both of them. So that's one thing I like. But those three together are scary with Kerrigan. Then you got Javon Hargrave, who Brian DiArdo mentioned earlier. His nickname in Pittsburgh was the Grave Digger. And we got to see a little bit of that toward the end of last year. I think he's going to be big. Milton Williams has had a great camp so far. Fletcher Cox, we know what if he can just beat the double team consistently, this pass rush is going to be really scary. Like 49 sacks is what they had last year. I definitely think they can get 50, especially now with the new defensive coordinator mixing things up front.
Let's talk about the new defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. When you're the new head coach or the new offensive coordinator, the new defensive coordinator, the entire staff is essentially a new staff. What challenges does Jonathan Gannon face? Because, again, if you take the body of work so far since camp began, the challenges appear to be more exacerbated on the offensive side of the football. So for Jonathan Gannon, he may not be asking a lot of questions about issues or concerns, but he's still going to have challenges. What are they?
Well, I think the Eagles answered the biggest challenge for him this offseason because I was really worried about what they were going to do with this second cornerback position opposite Darius Slay. And give them credit. They got Steven Nelson, and they made their lives a lot easier. It seemed like every kind of hole or it was like a leaky pipe the Eagles had in their defense, they were able to fix it. They were able to bring in Anthony Harris. I thought that was a good move. Andrew Adams will probably make this team now. He's a good special teamer. He'll probably make this team with Kayvon Wallace being out. So you got depth there. That's one thing I like in the secondary. All of a sudden you have depth because you got Steven Nelson at cornerback, which allows Zach McPherson to be that boundary cornerback. They can have him learn kind of like a Leo Shepard, Sheldon Brown type. I've mentioned that before. And you can put Devonta Max in the slot where he succeeds. And linebacker's been their biggest issue, but again, they were able to get Eric Wilson in there. And yeah, he does have problems tackling. That's going to be the biggest issue. Can they tackle? They do have guys that can, but they have a lot of guys that miss tackles. Like Alex Singleton can tackle, but he can't cover the pass. Eric Wilson can tackle to an extent, but he has a lot of missed tackles. But he does find his way to the football. So I got to give him credit for that. Davion Taylor was a good surprise at camp. They still have TJ Edwards in there. Jannard Avery's the linebacker now. So they got a little bit of depth there. And obviously, you talk about the defensive line. I think their biggest holes are going to be, how are they going to do against a top-flight offense? Because they're going to face tons of them early on in the season. And I don't think we can judge this defensive coordinator based on, okay, they gave up 27 points to the Cowboys, or they gave up 31 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, no, everybody does that. It's going to be how they're going to look toward the end of the year. But I'll tell you what, if this defense can hold their own early on in the season, this team may be a playoff team. If they can find a way to go 2-4 these first 6 games, or 3-3, and their defense plays well, I'm really, really liking their chances of making the playoffs.
Let's continue our conversation with Jeff Kerr. Remember to follow him on Twitter at Jeff Kerr CBS, sitting in for Johnny Mack. Be right back in the chair tomorrow on game day. Preseason football kicks off, Eagles and Steelers. It'll be a hot day or a hot night tomorrow at the link from a temperature standpoint. Let's cover your 2 other bold predictions. Jeff, we had a lot of fun on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel when we did the schedule release We gave away a lot of Devonta Smith jerseys, a lot of good buzz, a lot of hype, of course, around Devonta Smith. He's leading your bold predictions, your one big bold prediction. Tell us what that is, and then let's drill down on it a little bit and understand where you're coming from with it.
So no Eagles rookie receiver has ever had 1,000 yards in a season. If there's anybody that can do it in a 17-game season, it's Devonta Smith. It's going to be like Deshaun Jackson in 2008. He's going to play right away, and he's going to make plays, and he's going to be the focal point of an offense that, quite frankly, needs him to be. Like, I don't know what you're going to get out of Jalen Reagor. I don't know what you're going to get out of Travis Fulgham. I do know what the Eagles are going to get out of Zach Ertz. I think he's going to have a bounce-back year, but Jalen Hurts already has the chemistry with this guy. They know each other well, and Devonta Smith catches everything. He can run routes well. He can catch everything. He's as most polished as a prospect the Eagles have had at the wide receiver position in years. You know, there's always a flaw when they draft a receiver high. You know, they can't do this. They can't do that. What's the knock on Devonta Smith? He's skinny. So what? There are a lot of skinny receivers in the NFL. The guy is built to play football, and he's played in the best conference in the country, the SEC, and he was a stud on the best football team in the country. And, you know, he's playing up against NFL defensive backs in the SEC, future NFL defensive backs, and he's putting up these numbers. And the guy was just insanely good last year. When I ranked the wide receivers, I would have went with him over Jamar Chase. I know Jamar Chase is really, really good, but he also sat out a year. So that concerned me a bit. I get why Cincinnati drafted Jamar Chase because of Joe Burrow and all that, but I thought he was better than Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is a deep threat, but he's got holes in his game, and I think Waddle will be good in Miami. But overall, Devonta Smith is going to be an absolute stud in this league, and I don't think it's going to take long for him to figure it out. And to get 1,000 receiving yards, you need to average 58.8 yards per game. I think he can do that.
Let me ask you a little bit about the reference to chemistry with Jalen Hurts. You know, if you go back to his time at Alabama, Jalen had already moved on for his final season to Oklahoma. In that same season with Mac Jones under center, Devonta Smith had his biggest year receiving the football at Alabama. Why do you think, Jeff, curious, why you think that Jalen and Devonta have chemistry to the extent of enough chemistry to average that kind of yardage on a weekly basis?
So I go back to what I kind of talked to Devonta Smith about this prior to the draft. And I just brought Jalen Hurts in conversation because, Philly area guy. And, I knew he was going to be the quarterback. And I told him I followed Devonta Smith for a long time. I'm big into college football recruiting, and Devonta Smith was 5-star across the board. And when Jalen Hurts was in his first year as a starting quarterback, there was a guy he went to on 3rd and 4th downs a lot, and he had Henry Ruggs, he had Jalen Watt, he had just receivers across, everywhere. And he went to this kid, Devonta Smith, in his own class, a freshman. And they won a game against South Carolina on a 4th down pass because he went to Devonta Smith, even though he had tons of weapons all over the place. Jerry Jeudy was another one. He never went to him. And Jerry Jeudy was probably the best one out of the bunch, not named Devonta Smith. And he would go to Devonta. And I remember Devonta said, man, I would love the opportunity to play with him again. I think we can do some damage. And I'm like, all right, there's the quote. So, I just think these two, they just see eye to eye. They've known each other. They've caught balls together. They work out together. I just think it's one of those things where if Jalen Hurts is struggling to throw the football, he's going to know who to go to bail him out of it, and that's going to be Devonta Smith. So I think you're going to see a target volume go up. I honestly think the Eagles should give this guy the football, at least try to at least 10 times a game, whether he's covered or not. I just think he's the guy that can make that impact, and it's a shame they don't have somebody else to help him out, and maybe Jalen Reagor becomes that guy. Maybe Travis Fulgham is consistent. Maybe it'll be Wes Watkins. Who knows? But maybe they'll bring in a veteran, but again, I just think this is going to be a guy that the Eagles are really going to rely on, and Nick Sirianni is going to do whatever he can to win a football game because that's his job. And I think Devonta Smith will give him the best opportunity to win football games, get this passing game going, and I'll tell you what, Eagles fans, buckle up. He's going to be a really fun watch.
We'll cover your last bold prediction. Just I mentioned on the lead into the Devonta Smith conversation, we had a lot of fun giving away Devonta Smith jerseys. Just a alert for all of our subscribers on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe now. Our first big giveaway of the 2021 season is season tickets for the Eagles. So every home game on the 2021 schedule, you'll win a pair of season tickets. We'll have more details coming out, but the one thing is for sure, you must be a subscriber on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. But one lucky fan is going to get a pair of season tickets. I'm super excited to be able to do it here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Last bullet point, last bold prediction is your thoughts and your statements about Jalen Hurts. Now, before you begin, let me just take you back to only a year ago when Jalen was the 53rd pick in the NFL draft. There was a lot of explaining by Howie Roseman and others in the franchise as to why Jalen was selected the 53rd pick. And now fast forward, Carson is gone, Jason not announced, or Jalen rather not announced, but getting every snap. And of course, we'll start on Thursday and going into the season. You've put a big, bold prediction out there, Jeff. Tell us why and explain it.
And as I said earlier, this could completely blow up in my face if the Eagles would trade for a certain quarterback from Houston. But I think Jalen Hurts should get the opportunity to be a starter this year. And I went with he'll get 30 total touchdowns this year. And I don't think that's out of reach in today's NFL. And I looked at it as, okay, Jalen Hurts is good enough to throw for 20 to 25 touchdowns and run for another 5 to 10. So that's where the 30 number came in. And if he comes up just short, still a good year. But overall, Jalen Hurts is going to make plays with his legs. I always call him a poor man's Lamar Jackson. That's not a bad thing at all. Lamar Jackson isn't the greatest thrower in the world, but there's so much he can do with the football in his hands that you have to watch out for him. And he is good enough to get the Ravens a Super Bowl. He really is. I think people kind of underestimate what he did against Tennessee last year in that playoff game in Nashville. And everybody wants to point out to the Buffalo game. Well, they weren't supposed to win that game anyway. So I think Baltimore's on the right track with him, and I think the Eagles can kind of do the same thing with this quarterback. They can roll him out, and he can go to the tight ends a lot. And the Eagles have two good ones. They have Zach Ertz. They have Dallas Goedert. I don't think Zach Ertz is going anywhere either, at least not now. And so you roll Jalen Hurts out, and Nick Sirianni is going to do that because he'll play to his strengths. That gives him the ability to, A, run the football, or B, find someone that's going to be open downfield because he's going to buy some time. And Jalen Hurts can do that, and he can make some big plays for this football team. And that's where I'm kind of getting that number. I think when the Eagles struggle in the red zone, they're going to go to Hurts' legs, and that's where Hurts is going to get his touchdowns. If you're a fantasy football owner, I would definitely draft Jalen Hurts and later in the draft because I think you can give some really good value for this guy. But I'm not a fantasy football expert, but that's what I would do. Overall, though, in terms of how the Eagles are going to work, he's going to be inconsistent. He's going to frustrate you at times with – he won't be able to complete the shorter intermediate passes, but man, that deep ball is beautiful. And he is going to hit Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen. I think Jalen Hurts will make Jalen Reagor a nice deep ball threat for the Eagles. So Reagor may not be able to do anything else for this team, but I think he's going to catch his fair share of passes downfield because of that deep ball. And some fans were able to see that on Sunday night when he rolled to his left and found Quez Watkins on that 50-yard touchdown. That's what I think you're going to see out of this guy this year. And he's going to be like Donovan Nab in 2000. He's going to have to carry the offense a bit, but he's up for the challenge. He's going to make a lot of plays. And I think 30 is a reasonable number for him. And I'll tell you what, if he gets that number, I know the Eagles will probably want to get a better quarterback in there, and they have every right to do that. But, man, it's going to be hard to tell your fan base if he has a good year and leads them to a potential division title or a playoff berth, you move on. I don't know if they should do that with a 23-year-old kid.
Perhaps your fourth bold prediction will be that Zach Ertz is going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Boy, it's an amazing story. It's an amazing timeline going back to the very end of the season a year ago, sitting on the bench, all the rumors in the offseason, the trade rumors, he's not going to be on the roster, the start of camp, wearing the shorts inside out, how he feels about the front office right now. I've had many conversations with John McMullen about it, and now here we are, going into preseason game one, and it seems to be that there's more reasons why Zach Ertz is going to be a Philadelphia Eagle than there are Zach Ertz is not going to be on this roster. Last thoughts before we say goodbye this morning.
Yeah, I'll tell you what about Zach Ertz. And when I would point out a lot of tight end stats in the offseason, I'm a big stat guy, and I would put out only Zach Ertz and Travis Kelce. They're the only two tight ends with 300 catches, 300 yards, and 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns over the last 4 years. And Zach Ertz retweeted it, and he retweeted a lot of stuff. And, we don't follow each other, but he retweets the stuff. So, again, I think he wants people to know, hey, look, I'm still Zach Ertz. I'm still good. I've talked to him a couple times, not that much this offseason. But overall, I don't think he necessarily wants to be with the Eagles, but he's getting paid a lot of money to be with the Eagles, and he's a good guy. He'll play for this organization. He'll play for this fan base just because he's a football guy. He's a football player. And you know what? Some people sometimes just don't like their employers, but they'll work their butt off for them. And, I think Zach Ertz is one of those guys, and he's got a lot left on the table, and I think he wants to show it this year, and he wants to get a big contract in free agency, and I think that's how he's approaching this season.
Great stuff from Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports, sitting in all training camp for John McMullen, doing a great job with Jody Mack. That's going to do it for this edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Coming up, 11 o'clock, The Middle. Get caught in the middle with Eitan Shander, Harry Mays, and Barrett Brooks. And then, of course, at 4 p.m. every Monday through Friday, the National Football Show with Dan Cilio. And then right back here tonight, Football 24/7 with John McMullen. It'll be a light recap tonight because it's a simple walkthrough and prep for tomorrow, but we'll have that on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Jeff Kerr, great stuff again today, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow on Birds 365. Thanks to all of the viewers tuning in and all of the subscribers to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Until next time, see you next time, everybody. Today's show on the JAKIB Media channel. Listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.